Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 8, Episode 36, overall 421 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give the dealership a call at 519-824-0210. Tell them Chris Palme sent you. And you can also email the dealership if you have any questions about the GM or Cadillac products there at info@barrycullen.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports, and also the home of the Rod Peterson Show, weekdays from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. as well. I hope everyone's doing well on this cooler, rainy August 6th. What is it today? Tuesday, August 6th. And looking forward to this show today. I'm waiting for my guest to come on, and he should be on in a few minutes. So we'll just wait to see if he'll come on. My guest scheduled for today, he was originally supposed to come on 7 o'clock tonight for the Argo Bounce live audio show with Nick and myself, but he had another commitment. So he's going to come in at 4 o'clock today. So just bear with us. His name is Matthew Scianitti. He is a CFL on TSN reporter and sideline reporter during the TSN broadcast. And he's also involved with the Major League Soccer League broadcast on TSN. And this past summer, he's been covering soccer matches for TSN. And now he's back with the CFL on TSN. He's been with TSN since 2013, and I'm looking forward to having Matthew on our show as well. We're just waiting for him, so hopefully he'll be on in a couple of minutes. But while we're waiting for Matthew Scianitti, I'm going to play a little interview I did with one of the Argos super fans. His name is Hal. This was a couple weeks ago at the Argos game against the Edmonton Elks, and we're going to play this video right now with Argos super fan and season ticket holder Hal, courtesy of my YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Chris Palme live here at BMO Field for the pregame tailgate for tonight's Argonauts Blue Bombers game at BMO Field at 7 o'clock. It's Argonaut hat giveaway. First 10,000 fans get a free hat, and the crowd looks like it's going to be good tonight. I have an Argo fan here with me. His name's Hal, and we're going to get some thoughts on tonight's game against Winnipeg, which is a big game for Winnipeg and Toronto. Hal, how you doing?
Oh, fantastic. Game night. It's great.
Hopefully, then, remember the last time I interviewed, they didn't do so on the East Final. So hopefully tonight they can get a W against Winnipeg.
Yeah, I hope this removes the bad curse, and we're going to be winning tonight.
What do you think of this environment tonight with this Argo hat giveaway?
Oh, it's great. You know, I think anything they can do to get the logo out into the community, get people interested in the game. There's a big crowd. There's a lot of energy. It's really just awesome.
Where do you and your girlfriend come from, Lindsay, Ontario?
No, we come north from around Barrie, come down for the games.
What are your thoughts on the 2024 Argos season so far after 6 games?
I guess it's not surprising if we don't have our starting quarterback, but you know, I got to give Cameron Dukes the credit. You know, he's held us in there. He surprised us. Losing to Hamilton kind of smarted, but hey, you know, I guess I'm pleased so far. And when Chad Kelly comes back, hopefully things will turn around.
Yeah, if Kelly comes back, they're going to have to move one of the quarterbacks because I can't see them keeping 4. But right now, I guess Dukes would probably start tonight. But I think if he has struggles in the first half, I think you'll see Arbuckle come in a little bit sooner than last week.
Yeah, and I heard Dinwiddie say that he's going to platoon a little bit. And then he said the trick to platooning is that you don't pull one when they're struggling, but you don't pull them when they're hot. So I think it's probably going to be pretty scripted. Maybe the first quarter with one and then 50-50 in the second quarter. That's my thinking.
How do you see this game going? Obviously for the Argos, what's the score?
I'm going to watch the special teams. I'm going to watch Grant remind Winnipeg what they let go. So I see a touchdown on a kick return or a punt return for sure. Maybe two. Maybe someone's going to win $1 million on TSN.
I've got Kadeem Carey as the player tonight for the Argos to watch. But Hal, I want to say thank you so much for doing this. And final thoughts before we wrap this up.
Come on down to see a game. It's affordable. It's fun. It's Toronto's winning team.
Thank you so much, Hal. Go Argos.
Go Argos.
Chris. All right, guys, that clip was courtesy of my YouTube channel, and that was Hal. He's a Argonaut super fan and season ticket holder. And my guest is here, so we're going to bring him on, Matthew Scianitti from TSN. Good afternoon, Matthew. How are you?
I'm well, Chris. How are you?
Good. Hey, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to come on here again today.
No problem at all.
So how's your summer been going? And I'm not really much of a soccer guy, but thoughts on your soccer coverage this summer for TSN, and what were some of your most memorable games and interviews you did, and some of the cities you traveled to?
Well, I imagine that this might interest you, being able to see Canada play on the biggest stages in North America, but particularly at AT&T Stadium in Dallas and MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. I think gets everybody excited for the 2026 World Cup, especially for Canada's men to kind of finally match Canada's women and go deep into a tournament. Canada had never been to the semifinals of any major tournament in those considered to be in those top tournaments when you think of the World Cup. Obviously, Canada can't participate in the Euros, but Copa America being the South American equivalent. See them play so well, but particularly that game at AT&T Stadium when they faced Venezuela in the quarterfinals, to see tens of thousands of Venezuelans who thought that they'd be the favorites, to see their reaction, their energy, their noise, and see Canada's men react well, score early, give up a terrible goal when Maxime Crépeau was too far out of his net, and the Venezuelans were able to equalize by booting the ball over 40 yards. But the reaction to watch nearly 50,000 Venezuelans throw their beer in the air, the ground shaking, it was still one of the most incredible moments of my career. But overall, the opportunity to, much like I do with the CFL, try to introduce really compelling athletes and their stories to the wider Canadian audience is one of the most gratifying parts of my job. And I'm very, very fortunate that I get to do that. But I'm very happy to be back covering the CFL. But at the same time, I'm also looking forward to the 2026 World Cup, because I have watched Canada, I've followed this men's team all over the world. And in just under 2 short years, they will get a chance to play in front of their home nation at BMO Field for the first game, then 2 more games at BC Place at the minimum. And I think they can go further than that. So it's a lot of exciting times ahead if you're a fan of Canadian soccer. And the fact that we're even talking about it, Chris, means that it's turning heads everywhere, which I have noticed since I've come back.
By the way, I grew up in Oakville in the late 70s and early 80s, and they had the North American Soccer League back then, the NASL.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I was a huge fan of the Toronto Blizzard, and I identified with one player, the late Brian Budd, and I don't know what happened. The thing is, when they left Toronto, I guess my interest in soccer waned after that, because I just focused more on the Argos, Blue Jays, and then hockey and stuff like that. But I know growing up as a kid, I played soccer, and I was a huge Toronto Blizzard fan, for people that didn't know that.
Yeah, there's so many things that separate all the people who observe soccer in this country. There are people like you who would have been fans understand the sport, may have played it when they were younger, but never really took a liking to it because, I mean, the blunt truth is Toronto sports fans want to see the best of the best kind of competition. It's the constant debate that we have with CFL versus NFL, but the city has a lot of pride when the Jays do well, when the Raptors obviously do well, when they won the championship in 2019, and certainly the Toronto Maple Leafs in their ongoing search for a Stanley Cup after, nearly over 60 years. So we've come to a point, I think, with soccer, though, that with the men's national team doing as well as it has, it's kind of now stretching into the passionate soccer fans, the soccer fans who might only watch European soccer and identify with countries and teams of their cultural background. But this men's national team, as the women's national team has done, is really expanding everybody's understanding and appreciation for the sport in this country. And I think I've been saying it constantly. No one knows what's coming. 2026 is going to be an exciting time.
My co-host Nick Small on the Argo Bounce Show wanted to ask you, in terms of your broadcasting career, where do you rank that experience with the Argentina and Colombia fans?
You know what? I didn't get a chance to see that game live. I was actually traveling to Charlotte for the third place game after Canada lost to Argentina. The whole tournament experience is, I mean, I've been very, very fortunate to cover 6 Grey Cups from the sidelines. I've been able, or this season might be 6, at least 5 Grey Cups from the sidelines, excuse me. Covered the Olympics in 2018, the World Cup in 2022, and now Copa America. Copa America, just for the run that Canada had, for the amount of cities, the amount of work, the presence, the pressure, everything that came a part of the whole experience. That is my my favorite experience of my career. But overall, the chance to tell people, articulate to people, reveal the stories of members of this men's national team is a really, really cool job. And to be able to stand there live on the field, watch the games, be so close to finally understand the emotions and the tension that go into a penalty shootout, to even from afar feel the energy level change and the appreciation for the men's national team change, just proves to you that although soccer is a sport, it's a vehicle for a wider conversation that the world has with each other. It's the one sport that, to be quite honest, Chris, most people around the world, given the fact that soccer is watched by most people around the world, the one thing they know about Canada, at least in their recent memory, is it got to the semifinals of Copa America and lost to Argentina in the semifinals. So that for me just, again, underlines the global appeal of the game and how much of a privilege it is to actually be able to, and how lucky I feel to be able to be a part of it, because at the end of the day, there is nothing bigger than the World Cup. As much as certainly Grey Cups matter on a cultural level for us as Canadians, and the Stanley Cup final and winning it by a Canadian team, finally, the Edmonton Oilers came close, would be huge. The Toronto Maple Leafs winning a Stanley Cup would be huge, but there's nothing bigger on the planet than the World Cup. And when you're there, you feel it. And it's really cool that Canada's going to get a chance, at least in Toronto and Vancouver, and you hope around the country, really, is going to get a chance to feel a little bit of that energy. And to be on the ground floor of that is really awesome.
I should try to go to BMO Field for an FC game, because I haven't been to a soccer game in probably 4 decades. So I should get down there and experience a game down there. Got to ask you this, Matthew, before we get to the CFL. Overall, soccer in North America, how much has it really grown in the last decade?
I think you can only look at the evaluations of Major League Soccer teams to really see the value of the sport and how it's influencing advertising, marketing. It is still, even though it hasn't caught on, I imagine, the way Major League Soccer would have hoped. But I think when I say that, I mean, soccer is so big around the world. Been very lucky to cover it all over the world. But there's a difference, because when you're covering these leagues and these competitions in different parts of the world, you realize that it's part of the cultural fabric and has been that way for over a century. In North America, even though soccer has a long history here, I mean, Canada has won an Olympic gold medal. People don't realize in soccer almost 100 years ago. The United States, famously finished fourth in one of the early editions of the World Cup. It hasn't taken on culturally because we're just inundated with so many sports that speak to the culture of the place that we're in. Hockey, obviously, for Canadians, baseball and football for Americans. But the difference is now that we're seeing, certainly social media has helped this by bringing a bigger world closer together, for good and bad reasons. It has also allowed the eyes of the world to understand what's cool and what everybody's talking about. And when Kylian Mbappe this year for Real Madrid scores an incredible goal, the world's going to talk about it, just as they did with Jude Bellingham last year when he made his move to Real Madrid. Lionel Messi winning the World Cup in one of the greatest World Cup finals ever, and the attention that got on this side of the Atlantic just shows you that when something incredible happens in soccer, we want to know about it. Major League Soccer is always, to go back to my early point, is always trying to find a way of legitimizing itself. It has done a great job by building infrastructure, development infrastructure, building soccer-specific stadiums, bringing star players over. Certainly David Beckham coming over after in about 2007, 2008 was a huge boon for the LA Galaxy, and certainly Lionel Messi has added to that and the attention that he brings. But there's so many things that go into making a league competitive. And while Major League Soccer and their deal with Apple TV, their $2.5 billion deal with Apple TV, really did show a sea change towards streaming and more accessibility for soccer in terms of viewing options, the fact is the best leagues in the world are still over in Europe. Soccer in North America has a lot of things working against it at this point, at least. Travel, when the league plays, the amount of teams that play, the expectation, the demands on players. So I can't predict what 2026 is going to do. I know it's going to help the overall growth of Major League Soccer. I know Major League Soccer certainly is hoping that. But when I say they haven't had the growth that they would have expected, I would imagine that there are many who would have aggressively thought that at this point, Major League Soccer would be close to competing against those top 5 leagues in Europe, being France, Germany, Spain, Italy, and England. Major League Soccer is not there yet. It's not even close. But we're getting to a point where I can tell you, especially when it comes to Canadians, the price of Canadians playing in Major League Soccer and the price for them to move over to Europe has gone up. So that shows you that the growth is still happening in real time in front of our eyes.
I'm just going to be curious in a couple of years where the Argos are going to play temporarily with BMO Field being ready for soccer in 2026.
Yeah, same with the BC Lions too. The BC Lions will have to leave. BC plays for about a month and a half, 2 months maybe, but that'll all work itself out. I imagine that when you think about the Argos, they will be, and the BC Lions, they'll be a team on the road for the first 5-6 weeks of the season. Maybe even 8 weeks of the season. That will be a real challenge for them. Certainly that's a 2 season from now issue that they don't have to face right now. But I think when we look at how things and how teams will have to deal with it and the overall CFL effect on it, that is definitely part of it. But on the flip side, I would love to see, as Canada leads up to the World Cup, I would love to see them participate play games, I should say, in both Regina and Winnipeg. It would be wonderful. Now, you'd have to put turf there. There's a lot of other things you'd have to do. It's not as simple as just planning a game there and playing it. But I would love to see, given that Winnipeg and Regina have 2 of the most attractive-looking stadiums in the country, I would love to see the Canadian men leading up to the World Cup play those games. But for anyone who's ever followed Canadian soccer, especially in the last few weeks, nothing ever comes easy following that federation. So it might seem like a pleasant idea, but there's going to be a lot of moving parts for CFL teams and otherwise come 2026.
And all the games that you covered, Matthew, were all the fields grass, or were there some turf ones?
No, there's no turf either at this high level.
Okay.
I mean, this is a big debate when it comes to the men's and women's game. It should be uniform across the upper levels of the men's and women's game. It wasn't, especially in the World Cup that happened in Canada in 2015. But all the fields are our grass, and just a little bit of insight for your football fans and how big soccer actually is. Being at AT&T Stadium, which is an incredible facility that Jerry Jones built, and it's been around for 13 to 15 years now. Jerry Jones spared no expense going to Copa America. They wanted the World Cup final. They're getting the World Cup semifinal, which is the only more significant sporting event than the World Cup semifinal is the World Cup final. That'll be held at one of them will be held at AT&T Stadium. And Jerry Jones has, on his own dime, this was the test event, the Copa America was, especially that quarterfinal between Canada and Venezuela. He installed a drainage system, grass, and grow lights. And I saw it. It was an incredible engineering feat. Some other facilities, though, I'm talking about Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta and MetLife Stadium in New York and New Jersey. Less so. The fields are far tighter, narrower for the CONMEBOL South American Copa America. But to watch Jerry Jones and to see the amount of money he put down towards high-level competitive infrastructure for soccer just shows you where the game is and how important it is. And, a cool little factoid is that grass that they grew inside AT&T Stadium was all based upon the grass of BMO Field. Although BMO Field's stadium itself, the stands, have been ranked the lowest, and it will be the lowest ranked stadium just because it's really not a venue for an event like that. It'll be retrofitted to be for an event like that. They're going to add seating in November to push it up over 40,000. The grass is considered the best out of all the 2026 World Cup stadiums.
Did not know that.
Yeah, AT&T Stadium wanted to kind of learn as many tricks as they could from the groundskeeping crew at BMO Field. So that was cool to see. It shows you if Jerry Jones and Cowboys Nation thinks this is a big deal, it's a big deal.
All right. Well, thank you, Matthew, for that information. And I'm following about 8 different sports now. The National Lacrosse League is one sport, and now I'm going to try to take a little more interest on soccer. And this is my first show I've really talked about soccer in 4.5 years. So I really appreciate you, Matthew, telling us a little bit about the Copa and the World Cup coming up as well.
No problem.
I have a viewer on. He's got his own podcast in Buffalo, New York. His name is Robbie Schneider. Really good guy, huge sports fan. He's now taken an interest in the CFL because of the Argo Bounce show with me and Nick, and he wanted to say hi, and he just loves watching the CFL, and he's been able to watch it on CBS Sports Network in the States as well.
Awesome.
Robbie's a good guy too, so I'm hoping to get him to a game in Toronto at some point this season as well. And hey, I got to ask you this: what did you think of the job Paul LaPolice did filling in for you on CFL on the TSN as a sideline reporter?
I think anything that Lapo does, he's a pro at it. I mean, think of how many things he's done in his career. There really isn't any limitations to what Paul LaPolice can do. He's worked almost every coaching. Almost every positional coach that you can, won multiple Grey Cups, was part of the spark that started that Winnipeg dynasty, has coached the team, head coached the team into a Grey Cup, has been an excellent member of our panel, excellent at breaking plays down in coach's playbook, and looks super stylish on the sidelines. So I can't hate on anything that Paul LaPolice does because he's just he's an absolute pro. He just slides in as a natural. So I got a lot of time for Lapo. I was certainly happy to see, and it was very humbling to see him want to bring his own sneaker game and try to have his own spin on being on the sidelines. And that's the fun thing about the job that we do, is that as much as it is about telling stories, it's also very much about entertaining, and being genuinely yourself is super important, and Lapo just fit right in.
And as much as I miss Rod Black on the broadcast, you guys have done great with Dustin Nelson and Marshall Ferguson and Rod Smith. You guys, everybody with the CFL and TSN, sideline reporters, the studio hosts, everybody does such a great job. And Dustin Nelson reminds me a little bit about Gus Johnson. He gets so excited and passionate, and I really enjoy his style of broadcasting as well.
Yeah, I mean, Dustin, I think his trademark sayings like "What is happening? What is going on?" is the one thing that's brilliant about play-by-play guys is when you find your voice, that voice really becomes a characteristic and part of the viewing experience for the viewer. And you know what you're getting when the voice, Rod Smith, does the game. You know what you're getting. You know you're getting the nuanced, detailed, and witty observations of Marshall Ferguson when he does a game. And Dustin Nilsson, in a way that's much like Chris Cuthbert and Did You See That? He is the voice of the fan. And you don't need to watch a Dustin Nilsson game to follow a Dustin Nilsson game. His voice will pick up as the play is moving forward. So it's a real pleasure to see him really build his voice in the booth. And I imagine in the years to come, that will only grow, and it's really exciting. I think we have like you say, a very, very great roster of on-air talent for the CFL and TSN.
What was it like being back on the field for TSN a couple weeks ago, and how much catching up did you have to do?
A lot of catching up. The speed of the game is like something, especially the speed of those broadcasts. You gotta have your head in a swivel. Even the first hit, I was so excited that I muffed my line about responding to Rod Smith. There is so much energy, and sometimes you don't really appreciate things until you're kind of removed from them. And it's really cool to be back on the sidelines. It was super humbling and even a little emotional to see the reaction of people when they saw me, to be welcomed back like I was coming home, literally after a long road trip. Quite literally felt like I was coming home. So that was sweet. That was really sweet to be a part of that, to feel that, because the one thing about this job is, especially with the CFL, you realize that the fan base loves it so dearly, and you never want to abuse that. And I take great responsibility, and even, to be honest, put some pressure on myself to come back and want to be as smooth and as sharp as I am every other season. It's kind of hard when you've been removed and you're kind of starting the season 7-8 weeks in, but that's not complaining. I just feel so lucky that you come back and you're missed and you're welcome back with open arms. And I'll need a few more broadcasts in me to get back up to speed, maybe. But it was so good to be back.
And I'm a season ticket holder for the Argos, but even when I'm not doing media work, I still like to take my little microphone, and I love to do fan interviews as well, because I was able to interview one of the Winnipeg Blue Bomber players' fathers, Michael Ayers. His dad, Steve, is from Columbus, Ohio. He's a high school football coach, and he absolutely loves Canada and loves the Canadian Football League. And he just loved coming up from Ohio to see his son play for the Blue Bombers. And then I had a season ticket holder for the Argos from the 70s. So even when I'm not technically working, I just love being at the games and talking to fans and interviewing them as well.
Yeah, I think that's a real credit to you, Chris, because I think the one thing that's so wonderful about our league is fan engagement and fans knowing they have a voice, because that's what gives the league life. There's this league. There's no other league in the world like it. So it's just special to be part of the community. And I know everyone values the work that you do.
Well, thank you. And the NFL had me at the draft this year in Detroit, and I was there opening night, and it was overwhelming. There was so many media there, 275,000 people, but it was a great experience. And I was turned down a few times, and this is a story for everyone. Don't give up. Just keep working and being persistent, and opportunities will come.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the name of the game in this business. You can't take no for an answer.
Absolutely. Hey, Matthew, do you have time for a couple more quick questions?
Sure.
What were your thoughts on the Edmonton Elks' first win of the season over Saskatchewan? And it was kind of a dominating performance, and Trey Ford really looked good out there the other night.
I think that I still have a lot of questions about Trey Ford.
Okay.
There's some things in his game that I want to see. I want to see him have more opportunities to, and I know my colleagues at the CFL and TSN may not agree with me, but there are some throws that he makes that I say, okay, he can make those, he can improvise those every once in a while, but the defenses are too good in this league over time. They will pick up on tendencies, and we have seen it with quarterbacks. We have seen it with Vernon Adams Jr. and McLeod Bethel-Thompson. We've seen it with Bo Levi Mitchell. Everyone has tells, and when they're exploited, what do you do to adapt? And that's not a criticism of Trey Ford. I am just not ready yet to anoint him as someone who is the guy that the Edmonton Elks have been waiting for since the departure of Mike Riley. I'm not going to say that. That's not because I think that he's not a great quarterback. It's because it takes more time and more investment. But I do agree with my colleague Glenn Suter when I say that he does deserve investment. He does deserve time, and he deserves a coach. He deserves the same level of scrutiny and the same level of investment that Bo Levi Mitchell got in Calgary, and certainly we've seen Trevor Harris get, Zach Collaros get, and we'll see if we can measure up. Again, I'm not hesitant to praise him. I'm just because he's Canadian and we like the idea, and certainly look at Nathan Rourke, and we're excited by the prospect of having a Canadian come into our league and be successful at the quarterback position. Yeah, it's easy for us to get excited, but I think we need to temper our expectations. And you know, my colleague Dwayne Ford was spot on when he said this. Is, you know, we can't be anointing players as saviors, especially for a franchise like Edmonton, which, let's be blunt, the reason why we're elevating Trey Ford to this level of attention and desire for him to be successful is because this is not in the history of the Edmonton football team. You know, before they had their name change, now that they are the Elks, like, this is completely out of character for the franchise, and it's been a sad few years for them. And so anything that gives them positive momentum, people are going to latch onto. I think Tyrell Ford with Winnipeg is quickly becoming the shutdown corner in the West. He is not a guy that you want to throw to. And he's got the best celebration too, with his celebration. I love that. But Trey Ford, I want to see a little more from Trey Ford. But one thing I will say, to fit it in quickly, he was excellent being able to navigate a situation after halftime when there's a substitution issue, then a procedure penalty, which all happened inside the first minute, knocks you back 25 yards, could completely disrupt the flow of the entire half. And yet he stayed poised, he stayed calm, he got over it, and they won. And I think that speaks to his potential, but he needs more time and obviously greater investment from Edmonton.
Yeah, I guess you could say that for Cameron Dukes as well. Has talent and stuff like that, but I find he holds on the ball too long, and I think teams have picked up on it. And I wanted to ask you, what are your quick thoughts on Cameron Dukes and the Argonauts offense, which only scored 1 point in the second half against Calgary? Yeah,
they're good. The fact of the matter is everyone's waiting for Chad Kelly, and Cameron Dukes is a talented quarterback who can create off schedule. He can get out of the pocket, and he has that ability. But the specter of Chad Kelly hangs over that entire franchise still. The negative, the positive, and the desperation to have him back. So I really, at this point, think it's important. I think it's important for everyone to look at the Argos whole situation in context. And right now, Cameron Dukes and Nick Arbuckle are not in favorable situations because they're basically there to hold a place for Chad Kelly. Because when Chad Kelly comes back, and he's only coming back if he's checked all the boxes off of what was required by the CFL because of his suspension. If he's met all of those requirements and he's coming back, well, he's coming back to be the starter. He's not coming back to sit behind Cameron Dukes. And that's a lot of pressure on anybody. And I just feel at this point that the real unfortunate reality for Cameron Dukes is he could play great, he could play poorly, he could be right in the middle, as I think he is right now. This entire Argos team is 500. They're not terrible and they're not great. but they are going to think that Chad Kelly is going to be able to give them that little bit of an edge in the East, in an East that right now looks like Montreal's running away with it. And if Montreal beats Hamilton again this weekend, well, now Hamilton's got a lot of questions around it, and the Argos are going to be in a tight fight with the Red Blacks for that second spot for the home playoff game, and we're only halfway through. And then Chad Kelly's going to come back, and it's going to be after Labor Day, and now we're talking about what the next 7, 8, 9 weeks look like. So there's still a lot up in the air, but I feel for Cameron Dukes and Nick Arbuckle. They're not in a favorable position, but I think that Cameron Dukes has shown spurts of excellence and talent. But at this point, he's a quarterback that's like everybody else, just waiting to see what Chad Kelly does when he comes back.
My only concern as an Argos season ticket holder and media member, how do you market him to the fans, especially the female fans? And my other question is, you know this, Matthew, Chad Kelly hasn't played a meaningful game since last November in the East Final. He's going to have rust on him. As much as he can stay in shape and work out, you know this, it's not the same as being in game shape.
Yeah, everything you just asked, Chris, is exactly what we're all thinking. And I don't know. The one thing I will say is it's all on Chad Kelly. Like, everything that happened was avoidable. Everything everything from the week during whatever happened, it was all avoidable. And Chad Kelly did not have to be here. Neither did the Argos. But clearly, he did something to land him in a 9-game suspension. Now he's coming back. There's going to be perceptions. There's going to be still questions. Everyone's going to want to see how he handles the media. And I will be right there with everybody, eager to see how he handles the media. And now we're going to see what kind of effect he's going to have on the locker room. Will he start right away? How long is it going to take him to get up to speed? There's some very interesting weeks ahead. But really, it's all on Chad Kelly because he's the one who had to take responsibility, and now he is responsible for his conduct in his play, and if he can, push the Argos into if not a chase for first in the East, then at least get them ready for a playoff push.
Right. Hey, Matthew, final question for you. Which Week 10 games are you covering for the CFL and TSN? I know probably Toronto and Calgary Friday night.
I am not covering that game, actually. That will be Kenzie Lalonde is going to be here. Kenzie and I are swapping places. I am going to Montreal. Kenzie is coming to Toronto. So we are switching places for the weekend, which is fine because Kenzie is incredibly talented. And I can't wait to be back in Montreal because the one thing I'm looking forward to, I have not experienced it in the 13 years that I've covered the CFL and TSN, but that incredible crowd in Montreal that harkens back to the days of Anthony Calvillo and Ben Cahoon, and S.J. Green and Jamel Richardson, and when they were winning Grey Cups in 09 and 10, and how raucous Percival Molson used to be. The Owls have that energy about them again. I'm excited to get back to Montreal and to feel that energy.
And which game? I guess that's going to be a great matchup as well. I guess it's what? Saskatchewan, Ottawa Thursday, Calgary, Toronto rematch Friday, Hamilton and Montreal Saturday, and then Sunday, BC and Edmonton. I was 0 for 4 in my picks last week. Me and Nick, I think we got every game wrong. So I think this week I'm not going to make any predictions. And you know what we love about the CFL the most, Matthew, is the unpredictability. It doesn't matter what your record and what kind of a team you are. Any given game, any team in this league can win.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Certainly with how close games have been, but a lot of questions are emerging now. Edmonton is Trey Ford, the guy you want to invest in. Winnipeg, can their offense match their defense? Because their defense, even in that loss to Toronto, was incredible. Was definitely awesome against BC. Is Calgary for real? Who are the Stampeders? Is Jake Mayer a franchise quarterback? We certainly know that Reggie Begelton is incredible, and Cameron Judge is incredible. Mike Always great on defense. Granted, like they've got heavy hitters all over their defense, but are they consistent? BC Lions, what's going on with Vernon Adams Jr.? Saskatchewan, when's Trevor Harris coming back, and how does that affect what they've built? They've lost 2 straight games, so all of the momentum around the Riders has started to dissipate a little bit. You look in the East, okay, Toronto's got to get ready for, as we already talked about, Chad Kelly coming back. the Ottawa Redblacks are 4-0 at home for the first time in almost 50 years. And they don't look like they're going to blow your socks off week in and week out, but they know how to win. They just look like a team that knows how to win. How does Drew Brown keep growing? Certainly Montreal, standouts in the East. And they don't have Cody Fajardo. They now with Kenzie Lalonde reporting that Caleb Porter's out for the season, that certainly hurts them. But I look at Hamilton. This is a significant week for them because all of a sudden, much like it was when they went to go play Montreal in Montreal last year in the playoffs, questions and eyes are on Bo Levi Mitchell. As much as he's not at fault for all the issues they had, and certainly it comes down to grabs and certainly comes down to missed opportunities, but there hasn't been a standout, incredible performance by the Hamilton Tiger Cats yet. They went on a 2-game winning streak, which is now fizzled out. And if they lose this weekend, they're 2-9. So, sorry, 2-7. There's a lot of questions all over the league, and unpredictability is the best way to describe it.
I still feel Winnipeg can still win the West because BC's has their struggles right now. Saskatchewan has had their struggles, and Calgary's 500. So I think the West is really up for grabs still. And in the East right now, I would say Montreal number one, especially when Fajardo is back, and then Ottawa I think is really improved, and the Argonauts, like I said, we'll see how they respond when they have Chad Kelly come back in Hamilton. This is kind of like a huge, really game for the Cats. And you know what? I wouldn't be shocked if they pulled up an upset Saturday night. So we'll see.
Well, if they can walk into Montreal and pull off an upset, then all of a sudden the complexion of the East doesn't change, but Ticats start hanging around. And if you've watched the history of the Ticats over the last 10, 12 years, when they hang around, it's a problem for everybody else in that division.
Hey, Matthew, I want to say thank you so much again for giving us some time today to come on here. Again, where can my audience follow you on social media? The best way to follow you?
Yeah, the best way to follow me is TSN Scianitti. That's SCIANITTI on either Twitter. I refuse to call it anything else, or Instagram.
Absolutely. And the game time Saturday is what, 7:00 with Hamilton, Montreal?
You know what? It's always, I don't have it in front of me, but it's always good. It's 7:30 for on your dial on TSN. So we'll see you then.
Absolutely. And I think it's going to be another great week of CFL football. Hey, Matthew, again, thank you for coming on and talking about soccer and some CFL. And hopefully we'll see you in a couple of weeks down at BMO Field as well.
Take care, Chris.
Thanks, Matthew. All right, guys, that was Matthew Scianitti, CFL TSN reporter, and he also is a reporter host with the MLS Major League Soccer League on TSN as well. So I hope you enjoyed Season 8, Episode 36, overall 421 today with Matthew Scianitti. By the way, guys, I have another show tonight. The Argo Bounce live audio show tonight at 7:00 with Nick Small and myself. Matthew Scianitti originally was supposed to be on that show, but he had another commitment come up. So I was just grateful to have Matthew come on here. So I hope you guys can tune into the Argo Bounce live audio show tonight at 7:00. Nick Small and myself will be breaking down the Argos 27-23 loss to Calgary. I'm going to be talking to Nick what happened in the second half where they were outscored 26-1. And we're going to preview their home rematch with the Calgary Stampeders this Friday, August 9th at 7:30 at BMO Field. You can get tickets at argonauts.ca/single tickets. Or you can watch the game on TSN or TSN 1050. I will be at the game as a media member, so I will be doing pictures, videos, and some pre- and post-game interviews as well, and I'm looking forward to it as well. And Robbie Schneider, thank you so much for coming on, and I really appreciate everybody watching this show today, and I'm looking forward to another show tonight. Another viewer, Adam Cannon. Thank you so much, Adam. I know you're a Packers fan. Thank you so much for following me and watching this show today. Go Argos. It's a huge game Friday night against Calgary. Obviously, the Argos want to put some distance between themselves and Hamilton and also stay within reach of Ottawa, because right now, Ottawa, to me, is the biggest surprise in the CFL. Obviously, Saskatchewan got off to a good start, but now they're 5-3. BC's 5-3. Ottawa's 5-2. So huge game between the Argos and Calgary. Argos played well in that game at McMahon Stadium for the most part, but the second half they only scored 1 point, and I believe in the fourth quarter they were outscored 19-1. So credit the Calgary Stampeders and Dave Dickinson. But as for the Argonauts, they just got to play 60 minutes of football, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to guess Dukes is going to start on Friday night against Calgary at BMO Field. So I hope Adam, thank you for watching. And me and Nick are going to talk about this tonight at the Argo Bounce Live audio show at 7 o'clock Eastern. It'll also be on WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia. Before we wrap this show up, guys, my next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by BarryCullen.com, will be on Thursday, August 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern with my special guest, Danny Spiro. He is a country music recording artist who just released his latest single, Her Favorite Color. He's a country music star. And also he's gonna, his other single he's released, Ecstasy as well. So I'm gonna air Danny's latest 2 new singles. And if you're a fan of country music or music in general, check out Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show this Thursday night, 7 o'clock with Danny Spiro, brought to you by BarryCullen.com. Guys, if you're looking for your best friend, check out the Cambridge District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario, 519-623-7722, or visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. All the pets that are up for adoption there, their profiles are on the website. And again, they're also doing a 50-50 raffle every month. You can get their tickets at cambridgehumanesociety.org or at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. And if you're looking to volunteer with the Cambridge District Humane Society, you can fill out their volunteer form through their website as well. So, and there's great dogs down there like Roxy and Luna and Apollo. And if you're looking for cats and bunny rabbits, they have lots of pets down there that are in need of forever homes and loving families as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, hosted by Chris Palme, is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website is wqeefm.radio12345.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter /X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. Also, you guys can check out my website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. All my social media sites, all my digital content, and previous radio shows are on beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show again is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out BarryCullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email the dealership at info@BarryCullen.com. Family owned and operated in Guelph since 1969. Speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now, they have a 2024 Sierra 1500 elevation truck, 0% finance for zero. I'm going to reword this: 0% financing for up to 60 months. So again, check out BarryCullen.com for a 2024 Sierra 1500 elevation truck. More details at BarryCullen.com, or pop by the dealership again at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Live with CDP merchandise is coming soon, so bear with me on that. I am a content creator. You guys can check me out on TikTok at Live with CDP. And I want to say thank you to my 2,300 plus followers on TikTok as well. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans or they have semi-pro plans. I'm on the professional plan at $49 US a month. And if you're a business that does a lot of live streaming, webinars, podcasting, whatever, check out StreamYard.com and contact their sales department for pricing for businesses. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. The audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, TuneIn, and YouTube Music. Make sure you subscribe to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show now on YouTube Music. Finally, you guys can email or text Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpalme19@gmail.com or text the show at 519-820-7188. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback, positive, negative, I'd like to hear the feedback, because the only way you get better in doing a podcast or a radio show is getting feedback, and I want to continue to keep improving as well. And I got some more comments. Robbie Schneider, by the way, everybody, please follow Robbie Schneider, 716 Sports Blizzard Podcast. And his shows usually air on Friday nights at 8:15. Great show, Chris. Thank you, Robbie, for following. Thanks for being a fan and a friend of mine, and I really appreciate that. And Robbie Schneider, nice hat. Yes, I got this hat at the Argos last Argos home game against Winnipeg. The first 10,000 fans got the Argos trucker hats, and I really like it a lot. And Robbie goes, "Let's go, Chris." Hey, Robbie, thank you so much. I really appreciate you as a fan of my show and as a friend as well. So everybody here, please check out the Robbie Schneider podcast called the 716 Sports Blizzard Podcast. It's out of Buffalo, New York, and he normally airs it Friday nights mostly at 8:15 as well. Anyways, that's about it. I want to say thank you to Matthew Scianitti from TSN for coming on today and talking about Copa Soccer in Copa America Soccer, and a little bit about the World Cup as well. And I'm looking forward to week 10 of the Canadian Football League. Thursday night, Saskatchewan at Ottawa. Friday, Calgary at Toronto, which I will be as media. Saturday, Hamilton, Montreal, which Matthew Scianitti will be doing the sideline reporting for. And Sunday, BC at Edmonton. And last week, I don't know I think Nick got every game wrong. I had every game wrong as well. But that's what we love about the CFL. It's unpredictable, and it doesn't matter what your record is. Any given game, anyone can be beat across the Canadian Football League as well. So again, check out the Argo Bounce live audio show tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern with Nick Small and myself. We have a lot to talk about: the Argo Stampeders game and the rematch Friday night, and maybe a little CFL news across the board. And my next Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show again, Thursday night, August 8th, 7 o'clock with country music recording artist Danny Spiro. I'm really excited to have Danny on for the first time and talk about his latest singles and also his music career. And he's a big Alabama college football fan, so we might have to talk to him about the Michigan Wolverines being the champions, but Alabama is a terrific college football program as well. Robbie, final comment. You are a good friend. Go Argo. Thank you, Robbie. I really appreciate you watching this as well. And that's about it, guys. I've got a quick turnaround for 7 o'clock tonight with Nick Small. But again, thank you to Matthew Scianitti from TSN for coming on here today. And I want to say thank you to everyone watching this live streamed and on audio platforms. And thank you to WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia for airing this show. Shout out to Ryan O'Neill, their station manager, and shout out to Mark Cullen and Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership in Guelph for sponsoring this show as well. Have a great afternoon, everybody, and we'll see you back here tonight at 7 o'clock for episode 8 of the Argo Bounce live audio show.